Okay, Pete, for Liverpool, after a very slow summer, it does look like they're interested in Jeremy Frimpong of Bayer Leverkusen if Trent Alexander-Arnold does leave for free at the end of the year. Could you see them making a move
Yeah, a
for
lot's
him?
going to depend on what Trent Alexander-Arnold wants to do with his own future. If he is to end up leaving Liverpool and running down his contract, it means Liverpool are going to be short at right back, and I'm sure they will be doing their homework right now on potential targets. And there's no doubts that Jeremy Frimpong, I think, will be right up there, high on the list of potential transfer targets. He's definitely established himself as one of the best attacking right backs in European football. Had an outstanding season with Bayer Leverkusen last season when they almost did the treble and finished the Bundesliga season unbeaten and winning the title. Obviously, he's had a bit of experience before, having come from Manchester City, but it was when he went on loan to Celtic where he sort of found his form, and then that earned him that big move to Bayer Leverkusen. But yeah, he's a very good player. I'm sure Liverpool's priority is to keep hold of Trent Alexander-Arnold because there's not many fullbacks like him. For sure, Frimpong is slightly different, probably more attacking than Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's more of a right wing back rather than your traditional right back. But I'm sure Liverpool are doing everything they can to keep hold of Alexander-Arnold. But I'm sure they will have alternatives if the worst case scenario happens and Alexander-Arnold decides to leave Anfield come the end of the season.
For sure. And Paul, how do you see someone like Frimpong fitting into Arne Slot's system? Obviously, a little bit of a different profile from Trent, who's more of a midfielder by trade, but that bombarding right winger who doesn't necessarily focus too much on defending.
Yeah, I mean, Frimpong coming in, I think I'm not so sure whether that deal would hinge solely on Trent. As you say, they're quite different players at times. I think Frimpong does bomb on in that wing back position more of an orthodox right wing back and a right back. So that deal for me, that deal could still be done even with Trent at the club, because I think it just gives the manager another option of a more defensive-minded right back, if you like. I'd be surprised if Trent does move on. I said this before on the pod. I would be surprised with him in the final year of his contract. It's unlike Liverpool. It's almost like they've been sidetracked, taking their eye off the ball with him, Salah, Van Dijk. Obviously, people moving into the last 18 months or so, 12, 18 months of the contract. It's not like Liverpool. You're almost kind of waiting for an announcement that they have been talking behind the scenes. I'd be surprised if they were to stand by and let Trent Alexander-Arnold leave the club. But yeah, Frimpong's a player that I like. He's a good player. I can see him coming back and playing in the Premier League. Obviously did well at that spell at Celtic, but he's a player maybe not just Liverpool are looking at that would do well elsewhere in the Premier League. And I'm not so sure if Liverpool are looking at him. Like I said, I don't think the deal hinges solely on Trent having to leave the club.
No doubt. And Pete, it looks like Liverpool are definitely trying to shore up some defensive spots with, as Paul mentioned, Van Dijk potentially running his contract out and Joe Gomez being out of favor. Could you see them going for Marc Guehi either in the upcoming January window or waiting until the summer
Yeah,
for
I'm
him?
sure. Obviously, we know Liverpool were in the market for a left-sided central defender in the summer. They didn't end up doing it. Obviously, Chiesa was the only outfield signing they made. So the money is probably there for Arne Slot to spend if he does want to go out and bring a defender in January. Obviously, January is not the ideal time to be doing your business. All the top clubs would prefer to do most of their business in the summer. The Marc Guehi situation will be interesting. I think there is interest from Liverpool in him. Again, I think his price tag will have dropped significantly come next summer because he'll have 1 year left on his deal at Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace wouldn't be able to demand the 70 plus million that they were looking off Newcastle in the summer transfer window just gone. So obviously Marc Guehi could be in a strong position there himself if he doesn't sign a new contract at Crystal Palace and sort of runs down his contract into that final year. I think you could probably land somebody like Guehi for between 40 to 50 million pounds, and to land somebody like a top player like Marc Guehi who had such a good summer with England at the Euros at that price tag would be a no-brainer for most of the top clubs in the Premier League and elsewhere. Newcastle's still interested in him as well. Whether they look at him or look at other targets, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think long term, Liverpool are going to need to bring in a new centre back. Virgil van Dijk, although he's been a great servant to the club, he is now 33. He is the club captain. He has indicated that he would like to sign a new contract and stay at Liverpool right up until the next World Cup in 2026, which he's got his eyes on for playing with the Netherlands. So I think Van Dijk, we know he's still one of the best centre backs in Europe when he is fully fit as well. And being the club captain, I would imagine Liverpool will discuss a new contract with him, and they'll be hopeful to keep him as well. But I still believe that they would like to bring in a younger left-sided centre-back as well. And Guehi would tick a lot of boxes, but I'm sure it won't just be Marc Guehi that Liverpool have got on their list of targets.
You think Palace have missed out? At the risk of being maybe slightly greedy with Guehi with Newcastle. I mean, like you say, he's running his contract down. Every month he stays at Palace, his value is going to diminish. I always look at it, I weigh up the value of keeping a player is to what you're going to have to spend to replace the player, and actually what value does that player give you? Does he get you in the Champions League? Does he get you a trophy? Does he give you any financial value of climbing up the Premier League? And I'm not so sure that Marc Guehi gives Palace any kind of financial advantage of keeping him this year, other than holding on to a good player. But actually, financially, it's damaged their transfer fee because, listen, they're not going to get anything like what Newcastle were offering in January.
Oh, definitely not. As you said, his price tag will diminish the longer his contract runs down. As you said, 1 year left to go come next summer, and I think Palace would do well to get 40 to 50 million pounds for him. Obviously, they were determined not to lose him to Newcastle, who made several bids for Guehi in the summer before finally getting frustrated with it. Again, whether Newcastle come back in January, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure a few clubs might chance their arm to see if Guehi could be available in the January window, but I'm sure Palace, if they didn't want to lose him in the summer, they won't really want to lose him in the January window because it wouldn't give them a lot of time to find a replacement for him as well. But as you said, I think Guehi's in a strong position here right now. I think he sees himself probably playing for a top club, playing regularly at the Champions League as well, and I think probably that's why they moved to Newcastle. Probably didn't happen either because Marc Guehi probably knows the more his contract runs down, there'll be more options than Newcastle available to him.
No doubt. And Paul, do you see Marc Guehi as a Virgil van Dijk replacement or someone who could perfectly pair next to him?
Well, listen, he can pair next to him for as long as Virgil can play at the level that he is doing. Like Pete says, he's 33. You know, Father Time catches up with everybody at some point. And with Liverpool playing the high tempo, the high press, the pace of the Premier League, the pace of the Champions League, it's going to catch up at some point. But at the moment, it's not showing any signs of that. You put him alongside Virgil van Dijk, that looks a great partnership, doesn't it? I mean, you're never too old to learn. You never stop learning. So to play alongside somebody like Van Dijk, to pick up his habits, to learn his communication, to learn the way that his positional sense is, different things. Yeah, as a pairing, if Van Dijk, I can't see a reason why Liverpool wouldn't extend Van Dijk for another year if he wanted it. So to have them as a pair next season would be a very good option for me.